The Big Ten released its schedules for next year. We were talking about Wisconsin's. Very difficult.
Yeah, that is Billy Napier-esque.
Yeah,
Florida this year.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Let me give you Oregon's. Here's what they'll do next year. They're going to open with 2 home games. August 30th, they will play Montana State.
Oh, what? I guess Montana State,
Hey, dude,
at that
they're
level,
good.
is good.
That's one of those good bad opponents. That's one of those like, oh, you should beat them, but even when you do, hey, they're pretty good. You know,
A buddy of mine told me who lives there. He said that Montana State has overtaken the Grizz in that state,
Yeah. Can I also state?
and they just beat them in their rivalry.
Can
game.
I also state for the record?
I think they're undefeated this year.
Let me just say this. Oregon, if you're the number 1 team in the country and you think you're going to win a national title and you're putting yourself in the likes of Alabama and Ohio State, no one gives 2 Fs about Montana State. Go kick them in the balls, make them believe it. There is no excuse for that game even being
By the way,
close.
new quarterback.
Well, but
I don't care. I never
Title
wa-
hangover.
If they
Come
win
on,
a
Suke.
national championship,
I gotta build in the
I
excuses.
never
You gotta do
once again want to hear an Oregon fan
Hey.
be like, "Oh,
If they win a national championship, they can go
Oh,
0-12 next season. and I won't
Montana
care.
State. Oh."
well, let me tell you something. They might win a national championship this year, okay?
Yeah.
Do you realize that in their national championship year, they almost lost to Idaho? Do you understand that? How quickly you forget. And let me
It's going
let
on
me,
the DVD. You know it is.
Let me tell you this. I'm not going to ask you anything. I'm going to tell you, you son of a bitch. Listen to this. Montana State went undefeated this year. They played Idaho. Do you know what the final score was?
What's the final score?
Oregon beat Idaho 17-14. Montana
No, it wasn't
24-14.
Oh, 24-14. That's right.
Yeah.
They scored that late touchdown.
Yeah.
Montana State beat Idaho 38-7.
So look out for Montana State.
I say
It'll
get
be a good bad win.
Get out of that game.
Stop it. Stop it.
I just kidding. But they are good. They went undefeated. So that one is the opener, and then they play Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy.
Mike Gundy with his restructured contract. Did you see he folded like a pair of twos?
Yeah. Well,
He's like, all right, I'll take less
look,
money.
he had a bad year.
He sucks.
I mean, that's what I would do if I were an athletic firm. Like,
Yeah,
look,
like, hey man,
we don't need you that bad. You can't. I mean,
Well,
what they
look-
win? 3. They went 0 and
they went 0 in the
0
Big
for the
12.
league.
I think they went 3-9.
Yeah, dude,
Here's the thing. Every time you have a good year, Gundy, you come to us and hold us
That's
up for
right.
more money.
That's
well,
right.
guess what, bitch? It's
Well, isn't he the
time
guy?
for the other way.
Doesn't he do the year by year contracts? I think he's a 1-year guy.
He might be.
And
I
that's
just know
probably-
that he scares up any time that he has a decent season. He's like, well, I could talk to someone else.
I'm 40.
Unless you give me more money. So I'm glad that someone went to him and ruffled some feathers.
Matt Gundy.
Yeah.
He's mining the transfer. He is mining the transfer portal for a quarterback right now as well.
Yeah.
So Montana State, Oklahoma State, and then the Ducks go to Northwestern,
Yeah, it could be a fun road trip.
Chicago.
Yeah.
I might make that road trip this next year. They are going to have a brand new stadium. It will still be baseball season. The Cubs are in town that weekend.
Yeah.
You can do a little double dip there.
Probably good weather up there in
Probably.
September.
Yeah.
Then you have the Oregon State game back at Autzen, and then on September 27th, the Ducks travel to Penn State.
Okay. So, I mean, I hate to do this, but I mean, you're 4-0 with seemingly no
Well, should be.
effort. And then a tough one at
Penn State, Happy
Yeah.
Valley rematch of the Big Ten title game. Then you host Indiana.
Okay, and we don't know what Indiana will have coming back, but you know that could be interesting. Hey,
That Penn State game could be a title game rematch, not just Big Ten
Well,
title
that's
game.
Yeah.
that's true.
absolutely, that could be. And then Indiana, look, I know we're looking at Indiana's in the playoff right now.
Playoff?
Indiana's 11-1. And old Scagnetti
Playoffs?
isn't going anywhere.
His name is Signetti.
I don't know why I always
Some
wanna say-
respect, please.
Yeah, no.
Playoffs?
Kurt Signetti.
Signetti. Google me, bitch.
And then the last 6 shape up like this. They will go to Rutgers, host Wisconsin. They are at Iowa.
Okay. That could be a fun one too. I've heard that's a fun experience.
Home games against Minnesota and USC, and then they are at Washington.
Dare I say that is a very, very manageable schedule.
Yeah.
I would agree. You miss Michigan and Ohio State.
Yep.
You have a bye, I think, right before that Iowa game, which is
Yep.
nice. It feels you don't have to go to Penn State when weather could be an issue.
No.
It sets up
That's
nice.
got 11-1 written all over it.
Well, the only game right now, and we'll see what happens. You got to find a quarterback and all that, but you are going to be a touchdown plus favorite over everyone not named Penn State. In
Aren't
fact,
they that this year, though, besides Ohio State?
yeah, probably. I'm trying to think if there would have been another game where you were
Well, I
within
can look
10
it up.
points. No, Ohio State and Penn State.
Well, yeah, I was thinking regular season, but
Oh, yeah, that's true. Regular season, Ohio State probably would have been the only one. Yeah, so similar. I mean, I'm guessing that the vast majority of those games, you are going to be 10 to 17
Ooh.
point favorites.
damn, dude.
So that's
The Ducks were double-digit favorites in every game in the regular season,
minus Penn State.
minus
Or,
Ohio State.
Yeah, and I bet you that is
They were favored by 50 over Idaho.
yikes.
They won by 10.
Yeah, take the points. Take the points.
Did anybody take the points on Idaho? And
I don't know.
talk about a no-sweat bet.
Well, what's weird is that
I think I would take 50 points with Dan Lanning being the coach against Oregon every time. I don't think he's ever going to win by 50. Not be he just
Yeah, he doesn't
they're
run it up.
methodical. They don't run
Yeah.
it up. They put in the subs. Like
it is kind of amazing that your first two games, the way your O-line looked, the struggles you had against Idaho, you should have lost to Boise State minus the 2 kick returns. It really is. It's an unbelievable job of getting this team to come together to see where they're at now versus what those first 2 weeks looked like.
Well, it's just a long grind.
it's
you know,
enormous.
I mean, you've been through seasons where you
Yeah.
know you struggle early and you just keep at it.
Yeah.
And,
But I mean,
It's a long
especially,
season.
especially with the O line. You know, I know that you changed basically one guy, right? You moved Poncho over to center, and that was really about it. And the
Yeah.
O line has just
Well,
played so much better.
don't you think there's also an element of, right out of the gate, you're
Yeah.
playing Idaho.
Yeah.
You're a top 5 preseason ranking.
Yeah.
You're in the top 5 in the preseason
Yeah, your head's
ranking.
just not in it.
You're
And
just
then-
you
and then-
overlook them.
And then Boise State's a good team, and they sneak
Yeah.
up on you. And,
I think Boise State early in the season did sneak up on
Yeah.
Oregon. Ashton Genty's like,
no,
Whoa.
yeah.
and then you realize you got Oregon State and you want to revenge that game, and you're like, okay, we need to get our S together, and then all of a sudden you do,
Yeah,
and now you're undefeated.
everything kind of, and then the Ohio State game came at the perfect time, and it just really launched you into
What a season.
into a great year.
All right, there's the schedule for 2025. Coming up
And
next,
dare I say, I'll bet you we're going to say the same thing. About half of the year, we're going to be like, oh my God, this is really boring.
next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a very
No,
fun schedule.
there's not a lot of
this is
excitement
what
there.
happens when the conferences get diluted, though. Like I mean, you
Agreed.
just don't get all the best anymore.
I mean, honestly, yeah, it's just there's just not going
It's
to
actually
be
worse than. Is that schedule worse than this year's schedule? Big Ten wise.
It might be with like big name recognition. I mean, this year you got Michigan and Ohio State, which was supposed to be 2 big ones, and it ended up being one big one.
I would say if Washington and USC were worth 2 S's, that I would say no. But does anyone expect Washington or USC to be good? I mean,
Is Aller gone?
probably. I mean, the NFL. It's a very weak quarterback class, and so Aller may just say, "Hey, I got to get out while the getting's good," and bolt. So. Yeah, I mean, but Warren's gone, Singleton's gone, Carter's gone. I mean, Penn State loses a lot. A lot of their big guys are indeed gone, but so's Oregon.
Well,
And this is the one with Oregon. I mean, Oregon loses both tackles. They lose almost their entire secondary.
Also, their center,
Their
Remington Trophy.
They lose Harmon. They lose Birch. All those guys. I mean, you have recruited well, and you've done so well in the transfer portal. But Tez Johnson is gone. Evan Stewart's probably gone.
And I think Trayshawn Holden's gone. I think all 3 of those guys are gone.
You know, it's going to be Ferguson's gone, but you got Sadiq coming in. But still, like Sadiq at this point is more of he looks like Tarzan, but we've yet to see it really come to fruition. Ferguson's an NFL guy. There will be a massive shift next year in this Oregon team. This will not look
It'll be a much younger team.
much younger team. And then do you go out and get another Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, or do you turn it over to Dante Moore? And if you do, now we're right back to crossing our fingers and say, God, we hope a kid that hasn't played much football turns out to be really good for us, because your last 2 quarterbacks that have led you on this great run these 3 years have more starts in college football than basically anyone that's ever played the game.
When we were talking about it earlier in the show, just about the best quarterbacks available who are, or maybe it was yesterday, that are going in the portal, like, does a Bo Nix or Dylan Gabriel even exist? Maybe not.
and if they don't, and you kind of, I don't know, do you think there's an element in today's college football that if you look at your roster and you go, well, I can't see Lanning doing this at all. He's just like an all-in, all-the-time guy.
Yeah.
But do you go to Dante Moore if you think, hey, maybe it's not quite our year, maybe let's play for... It's not like
You're right. No shot. Not Dan Lanning's
Not
vibe,
Dan Lanning,
not
but
kind
it's
of
not
his
like
deal.
you're playing for next year. But I just mean,
No.
is it easier to say, let's just go with Dante Moore if 2 things. 1, there isn't that Dylan Gabriel in the transfer portal, or 2, you look at your roster and go, we're losing a lot of guys. We got a lot of holes we got to fill. Let's just focus on those, and then we'll develop
Growth and
Dante.
development. I could see there being an element of that. I've always said, like, if you bring in a portal guy, and you can't convince me that they're not going to bring in a portal guy.
I agree.
There's no way they
I don't think Dante. If we all took bets right now, Dante Moore starting quarterback at Oregon.
No.
I'm saying no.
I'm saying no, too. They'll bring in a portal guy.
I mean, next year.
Yeah. But if you bring in a portal guy and he's not a Bo Nix or Dylan Gabriel, let's say you bring in, I don't know, the kid from Western Kentucky, right? You bring him in, like with Will Rogers that UW went and got. And to me, if it's neck and neck between Dante Moore and Will Rogers, like it's like you have a hard time, then I can see if you're like, all right, we may take a little growing pains here. I can see going with the younger kid. But I just don't know if that's where this program is at. And he is so all in or nothing. I think it'll be hard for him to turn it over to a young kid. Yeah. Even though Dante Moore at that point won't necessarily. I mean, he's not that young. He's not that young, but he hasn't played a lot.
But he better have some serious upside.
Yes,
or he's not going out there.
Exactly.
All right, there you go. A little more college football talk.